Uplifting Uber update. So this is May. We will we'll go ahead and count this for our spring update. It's been I have spent a lot of time outside. Um, Weather has been well. I think everybody complains about weather, but ultimately, I have really been finding uh, a lot of very useful weather here. I've been outside a lot. I've been walking a lot lately. Um, I think this winter was so brutal that now I just want to like live outside. I don't even want to be indoors anymore. Um, but I have been walking longer and exploring more of the adjacent neighborhoods and meeting more people. Um, been, seeing people while they're out. Um, I have a doggy boyfriend that's in the next neighborhood over. His name is Benson, and he's a lab, just a beautiful, beautiful boy. He's a good boy, and so I get to see him from time to time. Anyway, but I always have interesting rides, and there are so many great conversations and interesting stories and people I get to minister to so often. I mean, I can't keep up with it all, and so I am just going to pick out some highlights. Um, One was it was a kind of a longer distance ride. I was to pick somebody up all the way over beyond the city of Pittsburgh, um, and all the way over on the east side, and then to be able to make your way back through the city and then over to the west side to get to the airport, especially the time of day it was going to be a nightmare. And it was my very last ride for the day, and I was so done. Um, I'm like, oh, is this a mistake for me to go the whole way over? Because then there's traffic, and if there's an accident, like you can't get anywhere from anywhere. Oh dear. I know I talk about Pittsburgh navigation all the time. It seriously it is the worst. I've driven the nation. Like you know that I have been all over the nation in all the big cities, and there is nothing like Pittsburgh. So I was really like, oh, I don't know about this, but uh, this older man was getting in, and for some reason I just said, hey, how do you want to sit up front? Like, would that be better for you? And so he was like, yeah, I'll take you up on that. And so we just started talking. He is a member of the Churches of Christ, uh, which it's not very common up here. That the Bible school that I went to, is a Church of Christ school, and it's more prominent down south. There really aren't a lot of them up here, and so it was pretty. I just that was kind of a shock. That that's what he said, and that he was going to audition because he leads singing and that kind of stuff, and he was going for some like singing retreat with a cappella, and so that was really cool. And but the even cooler thing was that he actually was pretty nervous about flying, and I mean he was pretty worked up, you could tell, and he was trying to be cool, but I mean you just knew. And so with us talking, and I got to encourage him in that, and we got to talk about God and all of those things. He ended up. I gave him my card at the end. Told him, of course, I'm gonna pray for you, and in the flight and everything, and just for his for him to have peace and to be comfortable and, no incidents and nothing like that. And so then he ended up emailing me whenever he got back and said that he was so grateful that he had a fantastic time. It was such a blessed time. He even got to see his younger sister, um, and really learned a lot. It was a really good time, and that the flight was good, but that it his trip actually started with our conversation, and so it was a blessing to be able to care for him in that way, and help to ease him in that. And then uh, I also had a ride with a man. Again, I was taking him to the airport, and we were coming from the east side, going over to the west side. And, I always ask, like, okay, what time is your flight? Because you just don't know how, like, to go through the main route. It's Route 376 is, again, it's brutal. And if there's an accident, it's even more brutal. And there's just no easy way. Like, you have to just go through it. And so he said, no, I intentionally, we're leaving early because I knew that he was going back down to Austin. And so we ended up talking about, I lived in Lubbock for a bit, and whatever, talking about God. And what we thought was going to be, again, this was going to be like my last trip for the day. I was just trying to get back over to that side of the city so that I could get home. And it was such a blessing. We got to talk about some really deep things. Of course, we talked about just Texas, and our love for Texas, and our love for God. And we got to talk about like family pain, and he got to share a lot of things with me that have been weighing on him and the family. Um, and so we really, really connected. And, we pull up to the airport, and he said, oh my word, it was like 5 minutes. It felt like 5 minutes. Like, we could have talked so much more. And again, you could see, he said, I really appreciate, your time, and just being able to share these deeper hurts with someone who understands it. Um, understands it spiritually, and then also from, somewhat of a counseling end, just the human nature, but with that, uh, with the through the lens of Christianity. And so we just really had a fantastic. I truly uh, would have loved another 3 hours with him. But anyway, so that was another one that sticks out in my mind from this past week. And then the last one was and it's so funny. It's always like my last. It was the same thing. I was coming from. I was about 45 minutes or so away from home, and I have the destination set in my in Uber, so that it knows this, keep getting me this way. And so this request comes in, and it would have been from the town I was in, McKees Rocks, and it was going the whole way to Ambridge, which is like the next town over from where I live. And I was like, oh my word, Lord, thank you. Like, what are the chances, And I was so very excited. My leg was hurting. My right, like my rear end, down the back of my thigh, down the side of my thigh, throbs. It Driving is very, very difficult on the body. and it was just throbbing, and then it started with sharp pains, and I was so ready to get home. So I had started heading home before this request came in. I had the navigation set. I'm like, all right, just gonna start heading toward home, and if I get something along the way, fine. Well, the one that came in had me backtracking another 5 miles back where I just was. That doesn't seem like a lot, but in Pittsburgh time, that's going to take another 15 minutes. And I had already driven 15 minutes. The one now I'm going, but I'm like, okay, but something, I'm like, it's going to get me the whole way home. And so I'm going to do it. So I turn around and I head back. I take this request and I go back, and now I'm sitting out of this house and I'm waiting, waiting, waiting. And I'm thinking, is this person going to cancel on me? I'm going to be so sad. Now I'm even further away from home. This leg hurts. And so I decided, instead of just, waiting out the time, I'm going to call and say, hey, do you still? So I ended up getting this kid's attention. Oh yeah, I'll be out. Okay. So he comes out. It's this younger kid. He's like 17 because it was he tells me it's his senior prom. And so he tells me about his suit and all he's telling me everything, and that he's going by himself. And I was pretty impressed with that. And, we were just talking. He started running track, and he's actually like really good. And this was the first year he did it. And so we're talking about, how could he keep running? Uh, you know, does he need to go to college? Well, what about trade school? And you can still run. You can still be in other competitions and races, and there's plenty of options. And we're we're talking about all kinds of stuff. And of course, then we start talking about. I said, you got to figure out what God has designed you to do. I said, you didn't go to Walmart and pick out your own desires and your own giftedness, right? Um, God designed that. God has put that in you. He wants to do something with it. And he starts laughing and says, "Oh my word, I work at Walmart. That's funny that you said that." And I said, "Are you talking about the one, um, in Baden? Because that's the destination that I have set in my GPS to get me home, that got me this ride with you. Like, how funny." He goes, "Oh, God, God put me in this car." I said, "I know." And we just start, and then somehow the conversation started with, well, and I asked, that's actually how it happened. I asked him, where are you with your relationship with God? Are you still trying to figure that out? Or, um, what are your thoughts on all of that? And so um, he shares a little bit, and I said, have you obeyed the gospel? And I'm like, do you know what I mean by that? And so he's like, no, what, like, he's asking questions. And so we have a fantastic conversation. I ended up, just in some of the things we were talking about, I mentioned like the sacrificial system, and how, it used to be animal sacrifices and all, and he was so intrigued. So anyways, by the end of the trip, I gave him my card. I said, I want pictures of the prom whenever you think about it. I would like to see see you all done up like you described. And if you want to talk more about, the Jesus stuff, then you let me know. I'm game. Obviously I just live pretty much up the hill. So he was so grateful. He was such a sweet kid, um, darling, and we had a fantastic trip and a fantastic conversation. Um, Please just uh, pray for him. Pray for just that. The so many times I have these conversations and we have great connection, And so many times then I don't hear back from someone. And I think, of course, just life gets in the way. People are just busy. Um, the days just fly by. And then also, I think the devil works on them and, maybe uh, puts it in their mind like, oh, it's kind of weird, like to talk to like to contact your Uber driver. Was she serious? Or, I don't know what kinds of things he he whispers, but just please pray for the people that I encounter. I give out my card not to everyone, but if we have had a good conversation, a decent connection where I feel like something else could be coming from that, I I'm so ready to hand out my card. And I do it so often. You just heard about three stories. There are so many beyond that. And I have had some people that have reached back out, and I do have some people that were actually still in contact, and I met them last year on a ride last year. So um, yeah, please just continue to pray for that. I am grateful for your prayers for please safety, safety, safety. Um, and I'm grateful for the financial support. Just for those of you who are in my corner. Um, yeah. So if you want to talk about anything, if you want to ask any questions, um, I'm always up for a chat. So if there's anything that you would like me to pray for, reach out, send me an email, call me, text me, whatever. I would be honored to do that. And yeah, I'm just so very grateful. And I hope that y'all are doing well. And we'll be in touch whenever the time is right. Right? Remember that the soul is the goal.